Pew pew. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my vlog. I hope that you all had a fantastic spring break, and that maybe you even saw the sun while you were on break. I am going to do my best to keep this one short and just jump right into it, because last week I thought that I kept it short and it was really long. So here we go. We're just going to jump straight in. All right, so on Sunday, it was Easter, in case nobody told you. And Pastor Joel had a lot of great stuff. And if you did not see or hear that sermon, I would very much encourage you to go do it. It was great. But I want to point out two things that he was talking about. That's two levels of understanding that the tomb brings us in regards to our own death, right? Because tombs represent death. The first level is just an understanding. Just that things come to an end, right? You know that you're gonna die, right? That's level one, is when you're introduced to that fact. Level two, the deeper level, clearly, is changing knowledge, right? It means that you understand it in a way that it actually impacts and changes the way that you live. And I want to add a level to that and say that level three is when you understand Christ's death and how that changes, right? So not only knowing your death and how that might change, but also knowing how Christ's death changes the way that you live your life, right? So there was those three stages. You understand that death happens. The fact that death happens actually makes you live differently, right? And then three, Christ's death changes the way that you live, whether that's a positive way or a negative way. Hopefully it's a positive as a Christian. And then on Thursday, Pastor Joel was finishing out his messages or his meditations in Psalm 23. There were only 6 verses, and he was talking on verse 6. And he was actually talking about eternity, or the lack of foreverness. The idea that things come to an end and how that can be good and how it can be bad, right? Like school comes to an end, summer comes to an end. We might not believe it, but this quarantine is going to come to an end, right? That's just how things go in this world. And that's kind of how we understand things and how we see the world. But God doesn't. And Psalm 23 even actually ends with the word forever, right? David says that I will abide in the house of the Lord forever. And that's the kind of language that God uses, because God does not live inside time. He lives forever. And as we come to a greater understanding, or even as children, before we learn, as Pastor Joe pointed out, that things come to an end, we have this understanding and this realization that we will be with God, worshiping Him in His kingdom forever. And that even ties back to Sunday's sermon. How does that impact your life, right? The idea that God speaks in terms of forever, so why don't we? So to get to our questions, again, trying to keep this quick, our questions are in regards to, I'm trying to pull them up so I don't forget them. In regards to Sunday's sermon is, are you aware of death? How are you aware of your own death? And how maybe does that impact the way that you live? Or does it? Are you currently still in stage 1 where you just kind of understand that life comes to an end? Or are you in stage 2? And how does that impact the way that you live? Knowing that death is real. And then about level 3, how does your knowledge of Christ's death and His sacrifice for you, how does that impact the way that you live? Does it impact? And then talking about verse 23, again, thinking about the word and idea forever. Is it good? Is it bad that things come to an end? Do you think that everything should be forever? Or do you think that it's good that things end? And what would it look like for you to go through life with the understanding of eternity, with the language of forever, the way that God thinks? How would that impact your life if you thought in terms of eternity? I hope that you guys have a great conversation tonight. I hope that you guys have a lot of fun with your small groups, reconnecting, maybe for the first time in a couple weeks for some of you. And then I hope and pray that in your time together that you guys might be bringing God glory. I will see you guys next week.